At 1:23 a.m., Reactor 4 exploded, tearing open a nuclear core the world was never meant to see. The crew intended to test whether spinning turbines could briefly power emergency pumps during a blackout. Chernobyl used an RBMK reactor, a design with dangerous behavior at low power and limited containment. Unexpected power loss pushed the reactor into a condition where operators struggled to regain control safely. To continue the test, several automatic protections were bypassed, reducing the reactor's ability to defend itself. Operators pulled out too many control rods, leaving the reactor with dangerously little shutdown margin. In this reactor, boiling water could increase reactivity, producing more heat, more steam, and still more power. At 1:23:40, the crew pressed a Z5, expecting the reactor to shut down immediately. Graphite-tipped rods briefly increased reactivity as they entered, turning the emergency command into an accelerator. Within seconds, reactor power rose catastrophically, rupturing fuel channels and violently flashing cooling water into steam. 2 explosions shattered the reactor building, throwing burning graphite and radioactive fuel into the night sky. With the roof gone, the open reactor released radioactive material directly into the atmosphere for days. The exposed graphite moderator burned intensely, carrying radioactive particles high into the atmosphere. Local firefighters climbed onto radioactive debris without protective knowledge, handling materials that emitted lethal doses. Many responders felt metallic tastes, nausea, and skin burning before understanding what was happening. Just 3 kilometers away, Pripyat continued its Saturday routine beneath an unseen radioactive cloud. Residents attended weddings, walked outdoors, and watched the glowing reactor from apartment balconies. On April 27, buses arrived and families were given 2 hours to leave for only 3 days. Families left pets, photographs, and belongings behind, believing they would soon come home. Officials initially minimized the accident, while contamination spread beyond borders before the public received clear information. 2 days later, alarms at a Swedish nuclear plant revealed contamination coming from somewhere to the east. Changing winds deposited radioactive material across Ukraine, Belarus, Russia, and many parts of Europe. Where rain passed through the plume, radioactive particles washed down, creating intensely contaminated patches far away. Soldiers, miners, engineers, pilots, and workers were sent to contain a disaster machines often could not survive. Remote machines malfunctioned in extreme radiation, forcing human crews onto the reactor roof. Some liquidators had roughly 90 seconds to shovel radioactive debris before receiving their maximum allowed dose. Pilots dropped sand, boron, clay, and lead while flying directly above the burning reactor. Thousands of miners excavated a tunnel for cooling systems, fearing molten fuel might reach groundwater below. Molten reactor fuel mixed with concrete and metal, forming a deadly radioactive material called corium. Early measurements near the elephant's foot implied that prolonged exposure could deliver a fatal dose within minutes. 2 workers died immediately, and many firefighters and plant staff later suffered severe acute radiation syndrome. United Nations agencies confirmed dozens of early deaths, while long-term cancer estimates vary widely by model. Children exposed to radioactive iodine, especially through contaminated milk, later showed a sharp rise in thyroid cancer. Authorities cleared settlements around the plant, creating an exclusion zone that still restricts permanent habitation. Schools, apartments, amusement rides, and hospitals were abandoned, slowly surrendering to weather and vegetation. Workers constructed an improvised shelter around Reactor 4 to contain radiation and isolate the ruined core. Decades later, a giant steel arch was slid over the reactor to enable safer dismantling. Wolves, horses, and other animals expanded in the zone, yet radiation effects vary by species and location. Chernobyl forced reactor redesigns, stronger safety culture, and international demands for faster accident reporting. Chernobyl remains a warning that complex technology becomes most dangerous when design flaws, pressure, and secrecy combine.